just became vocal in everything. I changed my language as well. Something, as we were talking about earlier, the changing the narrative. I changed even simple things of how I talk to people. I used to go up to pregnant women and just say, uh, "Oh, you're going to be such a good mom." No, she's a mom now. Like, how do I need to use my language to affirm my
Mm.
worldview. And so I stopped saying that. I stopped telling, and I say, "You're a pregnant mom." I literally call everyone who's pregnant mom when I talk to them. "How are you doing today, mom? Is there anything I can do for you and baby?" Like, say mom and baby until you're blue in the face. So just in your regular day-to-day conversations, how you talk about it, make sure your language is reflective of your worldview.
Voices of WIA is just one of the many ways that Women in Apologetics strives to educate, equip, and encourage women in Christian apologetics. So if you love Voices of WIA, then I invite you to join our free email community where you'll receive apologetic resources every single week and enjoy email community only benefits like exclusive digital guides and a discount to our annual conference, which, by the way, if you haven't been to our annual conference, you seriously need to go. You can sign up today by visiting womeninapologetics.com/, email dash community. Christians are supposed to represent Jesus by loving others, right? So, should you speak up about the pro life movement, or should you just let someone else do all the heavy lifting? Maybe you're done raising children. So, why would this issue matter to you? Or maybe you are passionately pro life and you want to know how to be more effective in sharing the truth in love. So, our guest today is going to talk us through her experience that led her to become more vocal in a pro life movement and how we can all display Christ's love to those who are considering abortion. Our guest today, named Maggie, she's one of our team members, is a stay at home mom, a homeschooling mother of four, and she and her husband have been married for 14 years and they reside in sunny Southern California. She received her BA in religious studies from Chapman University and her master's in Christian apologetics and evangelism from Trinity College of the Bible and Theological Seminary. She currently serves as the Biblical Immersive Experience Coordinator at Maven, where she has the joy of planning trips for Christian youth to share their faith with Mormons in Utah. Along with her love for Christian youth and the Mormon ministry, she is a pro life and adoption advocate. She has a deep love for babies and has been nicknamed the Baby Whisperer. So you will find her snuggling on the couch with one of her kiddos, watching college football while eating bacon and drinking a glass of chocolate milk. Nesquik, of course. Maggie, bacon and chocolate milk at the same time? Please welcome Maggie Hendrick.
Yes, bacon and chocolate milk at the same time. That's my ideal breakfast.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. Okay, I we were talking before the show, as I'm sure you recall, and we're both feeling very convicted. I'm so glad it's really been a long time since I've been this excited about an episode of Voices of WIA because I think that Christians are under the impression that they need to cower, that they shouldn't really delve into this topic because it is so inflammatory and it's so hard to get right. At least that's what it seems like. But in my opinion, when we just get clear on this subject, suddenly things begin to shift into focus. I think clarity brings courage, don't you?
It really does. I think the more confident you are in pro life arguments, the more confident you will be to speak up. And you won't get so flustered when the world starts to throw all those accusations at you, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you only care about the baby until they're born." And,
Yes.
uh, right, what
Yes.
about rape victims? They throw all these accusations just to get you to be
Yeah.
quiet. But
Yes.
the more you know the arguments, yeah, the more confident you'll be to speak up because you already know the answers to all this.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, I really want to just start there, spending some time talking about these objections that you mentioned, because I really do think, like you said, the purpose of the objections really is just to shut down any conversation about the topic rather than open up an honest, open dialogue about what we might be actually dealing with. So, because culture is controlling the narrative on this topic, and it's creating a web of deceit that even Christians fall into from time to time. And so, I would really like to talk about some of those, like we mentioned in the intro, Christians should be loving. I think that there is an automatic assumption that if you simply call something a sin or even question it, that it might be a sin, this might be wrong, that is considered unloving. And I think we need to be honest about that and maybe talk about how that applies to this argument and what we should do with that argument. And I think some of the other ones are like, no one knows what these moms are facing personally, therefore, we can't say whether it's right or wrong for any of them based on their circumstances. Or I
Mhm.
wouldn't have an abortion, but I wouldn't tell somebody else they can't have one. And of course, there's
Right.
the ever famous, don't push your religious convictions on me. So,
Yes.
how do we as Christians navigate those objections? What should we do about that?
Definitely. That first one is really important because that doesn't just apply to the pro-life ministry. That applies to all areas of our faith. Is loving people is telling
Yes.
them the truth, right? So Jesus loved people by telling them the truth. In Mark 10 with the rich young man, uh, one, Jesus is reminding him of all the commandments, right?
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
murder and all this. And the rich young man's like, yeah, yeah, I've done all that. And then Jesus, it says there that he looked at him, loved him, and then said, right, the whole sell everything you have and come follow me. And
Right.
then the man left sorrowful. Like it was disheartening for him to hear the truth that
Yes.
it wasn't just, I'll follow all those commands, but I had to give up everything to follow Jesus. That truth is hard for
Yes.
people to hear, but Jesus out of love spoke the truth. And we even know this from, favorite First Corinthians 13, right? Love rejoices in the truth. So
Right.
it's not possible to have one without the other. You need to be truthful in order to be loving. Lying to someone is not loving. And I'd also argue it's very unloving towards the baby that you are not saying anything. We should be loving them
Yeah.
as well.
Yes. Yes. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that campaign that says love them both. Take care of the
exactly.
mom
It's
and
one of
let
my
the
favorite
baby live.
shirts.
Love them both. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really important that verse that it was Matthew, you said it was Matthew 10?
Mark 10,
Mark
and in
10.
verse 21 is when Jesus, it says that
Okay.
Jesus looked at him, loved him, and said, and that's the perfect thing. He's looking at this man and he loves him, and that prompts him to tell him the truth that he's got to
Yeah.
follow him. And
What
yeah,
a
his response was not good. And I think we're
sure.
so scared of the response sometimes. Like, well, what if they respond poorly? Um, Even if the recipient doesn't feel loved in the moment, that's not what qualifies your love for them. Uh, Love, you do need truth in order for it to be love, but just them having a poor reaction doesn't mean therefore you failed to love them. You would
Right.
fail to love them if you lied to them and
Yeah.
yeah, didn't share the truth with them.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point. I am so grateful. I've never heard anybody use that scripture in regard to this issue or that objection in particular, but I think it's so I think that's well, like we were saying, it's so clarifying because everything that Jesus said, this task that Jesus gave him to do, it's very clear in that scripture that Jesus was speaking it from a place of love. There was no hostility. So just because you give somebody a hard truth, a hard pill to swallow, does
Yes,
not mean it's coming from a place of anger or condemnation, because you see that Jesus did that himself, and I think that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. So
exactly.
that scripture is certainly a good idea
And
to
in
go just
and in
read it
First
for yourself.
Corinthians 13, it's love is not arrogant or rude, right? But it does rejoice in the truth. So
Yeah,
this idea that saying something that's truthful is going to hurt their feelings doesn't mean therefore you're being arrogant or rude. There's still that
right,
gentleness there, but the truth is
right.
present.
Well, I think it kind of overflows into all of these objections because ultimately, and I'd like to see if I would like to know what you think, but I think what's actually happening is people are downplaying the truth, the issue of truth, because of the nature of what abortion is. And so all of these objections sort of sidestep that. They sort of for instance, no one knows what these moms are facing personally, so you can't say if it's right or wrong for you. Well,
Mhm.
we can say if it's right or wrong, period, in light of biblical truth. And so if we deal with the issue of truth, what is it? What is happening? And is that situation, are these things in scripture, would God give his, rubber stamp? Would he give the thumbs up? Would he approve of taking the life of an innocent person? And the answer is clearly no. And so we certainly don't want to be difficult or ugly in our responses, but we do need to speak the truth. And if we just simply speak the truth as gently as we know how, that goes a long way in making our case.
Yeah. And a lot of those objections that you brought up, obviously, we can't touch on every single one today. But the majority of them are straw men or red herrings, and they're meant to get you to be quiet.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times, if the question is brought forth with, good intention, I'll find something to agree with them there, right? They're like, well,
Yeah.
you don't know what they're going through. And I'm gonna be like, you know what? You're right. Like, I
Yeah.
know that no one has gone through the exact same experience I have. Like, I don't want to diminish the struggle that someone's going through, but that doesn't therefore condone them to
Yes.
disobey God.
Right.
So there's an agreement. You can find somewhere to agree with them, right? We don't want to just throw out all the compassion because this is a very weighty topic.
Sure.
So, yes, find something to agree with, but then emphasize the truth. That does not therefore negate the truth that this is wrong. It's not
Right.
okay. No circumstance, therefore, will let God give you a rubber stamp of approval to kill your
Right.
child. So,
Right. Right.
yeah, and
Compassion does not
not
mean
letting them stop you from speaking up.
Yeah, compassion does not necessarily grant them a license, or at least it shouldn't. And that's probably something that a lot of people really have to have help to understand, because that's what that's what the culture tells them, that if you love me, if you care about me, you just affirm everything that I think. And that makes this issue really, really tangled. So it sets us up very nicely. You've clearly thought about this a lot. You've thought about, kind of weighing the pros and the cons. You've thought about the difficulties. You've thought about how to have this conversation eloquently and well and gently. So let's move on to your story. Only tell us, whatever you're comfortable telling us. But how is it that you have come to think about this issue so carefully, which has led you to become vocal about the pro-life movement?
Yes, definitely. I grew up pro-life, but I didn't really even know human biology and what babies look like in the womb. It was a surprise when I was pregnant, and I was shocked to just see, wow, like they have a heartbeat so early. It was refreshing to me. And so that just made me think, wow, so many people just don't even know. They don't even know because the blinders are physically on too.
Mhm.
Um, but then with my first son, Troy, we got a terminal diagnosis for him when uh, he was 19 weeks gestation. And I
Mm.
remember the doctor on call there, not our doctor, just came in, used a bunch of words to scare us, like, maybe he has Down syndrome, maybe there's dwarfism, none of which of what he had, because he had OI type 2. And, but he was using that. And then he just says, I could fix that for you today.
Mm.
Those were his words. So that's how he offered abortion to us. And all throughout the rest of my pregnancy, it was offered over and over again as the logical and normal thing. Like, why would you not have an abortion? Obviously, there's a lot of irony in that because, for those who know about OI, that's where bones break in utero. And so OI type 2 is the lethal form. And the irony of a doctor offering to help my baby whose bones are breaking by dismembering him and breaking more of his bones was just rich. And the all that really led to my study more
Mhm.
into anatomies of babies and just I had a really hard pregnancy. I had HG. I was very sick and lost a lot of weight.
Mm.
So I just have a lot of empathy for pregnant moms because being pregnant can be really hard. Another child I had, um, placenta previa and had emergency
Mm,
C-section. I've had lots of NICU babies. So it's really hard. And honestly, I was surprised with how nonchalant the medical world was with just offering abortion and looking at you like you're crazy that you're not having one. So that really opened my mind to be like, wow, the world is really deceitful and they're taking advantage of women who are in horrible situations where I am happily married with my husband there and it's a planned baby and they're still looking at me like, why would you not have an abortion? So I can only imagine how that increases with women
right.
who are in more difficult circumstances. So yeah, that really led to me being more educated in human biology and yeah, and having empathy for women because being pregnant can be really challenging. So yeah, that's really what started my journey, and I just wanted to defend my son. You know, there was this a
Mm,
righteous anger that my son, there was something wrong with him and he was hurting, right? He was having his bones were broken and there was something wrong with him. And the fact that there's doctors going out there offering to help,
mm,
quotes, help by killing your
right.
baby is infuriating. And so I think that was just a motivating factor that I want to speak up to help protect these babies or no one is speaking up for them.
Yeah, in some ways, God has allowed, at least it seems for me on the outside looking in, it
Mm.
seems to me that God has set you up in a position to be a perfect minister of this message because you can identify with the very real struggles of difficult pregnancies. I mean, there you had it sounds like you've gone through I never went through some of those things. I had a couple of hiccups in my pregnancies, but nothing severe. Sounds like you've had, your fair share of difficult pregnancies, and so it puts you in the right place to say, "Look, I've been through these. I've walked through very similar shoes. I've had really difficult pregnancies, and yet, I can't say that those difficulties in my pregnancy somehow invalidate the life of the child." And so that gives you a really wonderful, I think, place to minister from. But the thing that shocked me the most is a statement that you made prior to our show when we were kind of discussing things, is that this is something the world really advances the idea of abortion, even under the circumstances when the baby is planned and wanted. It's still the go-to option. I wasn't even sure. I don't even think I was aware of that.
Yes, I'm in California, so I'm sure it's probably a lot stronger here too. But yes, it's
Mhm.
offered for any hiccup in pregnancy.
Mm.
Even with my daughter, my healthiest pregnancy, nothing was wrong, but I first went in and I'm with my husband. We have other children, and just the nurse just kind of asked, like, "Oh, how far along?" And we had a conversation and made some sort of comment like, "Oh, she's our surprise." And she's like, "Oh, would you like to have an abortion?" And my husband and I looked at each other like, "Wait, what?"
Oh.
Like, we're cheerful, smiling, and we made this little thing like, "Oh, like our baby, this baby's a surprise." Well, it wasn't planned. Therefore, you must want an abortion. And you're just like,
Mm.
"Whoa." Uh, so it just tossed around all the time.
Mm.
It's very normal, which is just heartbreaking. And then, yeah,
Yeah.
that if it's tossed around in someone in a crisis situation, like, why would they not
Yeah.
grasp onto
Yeah.
that? Like, oh, a doctor's telling me this is the solution.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. If you've been impacted by Voices of WIA or any of the resources that we provide, would you consider partnering with us through a monthly gift? Your support helps us continue this very vital work and reach even more women with the tools that they need to stand firm in their faith. I personally support WIA because there aren't enough women's ministries that keep the focus on truth, and I'd love for you to join me by visiting womeninapologetics.com/donate. Okay, so that explains why I think it makes all the sense in the world that you would suddenly become more vocal because you'd said you always were raised in that environment of being pro-life, but suddenly it became your issue and not just some kind of a vague issue, a vague cultural issue. And so, what does that start to look like? How do you become more vocal? How did you decide to start speaking up about it?
Yes. So, uh, I just became vocal in everything. I changed my language as well. Something, as we were talking about earlier, the changing the narrative. I changed even simple things of how I talk to people. I used to go up to pregnant women and just say, uh, "Oh, you're going to be such a good mom." No, she's a mom now. Like, how do I need to use my language to affirm my
Mm,
worldview? And so I stopped saying that. I stopped telling, and I say, "You're a pregnant mom." I literally call everyone who's pregnant mom when I talk to them. How are you doing today, mom? Is there anything I can do for you and baby? Like, say mom and baby until you're blue in the face. So just in your regular day-to-day conversations, how you talk about it, make sure your language is reflective of your worldview. But in the big scheme of things, I went on social media and I joined a lot of Facebook groups.
mhm,
And as an adoptive mom, I would join a adoption Facebook group that was very hostile towards pro-life people, and yes, I really started speaking out for all of children's rights, not just abortion, but I cared very much about ethical adoption. So I'd be joining these groups, and women would come to these groups and ask questions about adoption because they find out they're pregnant. And everyone in the
mhm,
group would always say, "Oh, doesn't sound like, adoption's right for you. You should just get an abortion." Like
mm,
literally everyone. And so I would reach out to these women separately, like just
mhm,
direct message, and just talk to them. And uh, we'll get into more of like what that looks like. But I would just talk to people who have no sphere of influence. This isn't looking for some debate warrior online. This is talking to like real people who are struggling and they're willing
mhm,
to share with a bunch of strangers that they're pregnant and they're scared. So I'm going to be a stranger that's going to try to talk to them. And so putting yourself in groups and situations where you can find these women who are just desperate to have someone actually help them, of which no
mm,
one was helping this lady in particular, that you can just talk to people. And to say that no one ever has changed their mind on social media or on the internet is a lie.
yeah,
There are
sure.
multiple babies alive today because I spoke to them via social media. So it might not be the ideal. It's everything in person is more personal and works
Yeah,
better, but that doesn't mean you not speaking up is, mute. It's very helpful to be a voice. And often I was the only voice speaking the
yeah,
pro-life message. You'll find yourself very lonely if you start speaking up for the pro-life message more often, realizing not many people do. But then how important is that you are the only voice speaking the truth to them? And if you weren't there, they wouldn't hear it from anyone.
right. Right. That is so true. It really is. It can't be understated, I think, that I think that the idea that you can't change anyone's mind on social media actually applies to a lot of different topics. And I think the only reason that objection has traction is because it's so good at talking people out of saying anything. When reality is,
Yeah. All to
if
get you to be
people
quiet. Mhm.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
It tells falsely tells all of us that it's all moot, that there's no point in it. And that's just not true. People are, at the end of the day, we are made in the image of God. Even those of us who don't recognize that truth, we are all made in the image of God. And one of the things that that means is that somewhere inside of us, we understand truth, even if we don't know how we know it sometimes.
that's right.
All of us are seeking truth, and truth really
Mhm.
resonates with each of us. And so, if we can speak the truth, it's worth a shot to speak the truth to someone in the event that they might, they might really listen because they are that's how they're wired, whether they realize it or not. And I love this too. I don't want to forget to point this out that the first one of the first steps you said you took was to start being aware of your language and making sure your language was reflecting your worldview. I do see that a lot. We don't need to buy into these euphemisms or these phrases that sometimes are innocent, like saying, "Oh, you're going to be a good mom." That's a fairly innocent statement, but in
Yes.
today's culture, it actually reiterates something that's false. Because you're right, we are moms. Once we conceive that baby, we are moms. We don't have to wait until
Yes.
they're born to be moms. So I thought that was very, very insightful, and I wanted to point that out. So So, what would you tell if we have a viewer or a listener who is wants to be vocal? She wants to be more brave. She wants to be more of an advocate and not just a private voter. She wants to be more of an advocate for the pro life movement, but she's not sure what to say, especially in those really difficult crisis moments when a real live person is in a situation of crisis. What should she say? What does she do at that point?
Right, because you can go find yourself in that situation if you just go searching for it and put yourself out there. Um, the most important, I would say, is if you ever come across someone, maybe like a coworker who tells you they're pregnant and they're
Mhm, mhm.
single and they look terrified. The most important thing to do at first is to congratulate them. That's part of the narrative that babies are a blessing.
True,
There's no like they're gonna ruin your life.
true.
Like babies are
Yeah, that's true.
amazing. And when they are just overwhelmed with anxiety and fear about what am I going to do? What's going to happen? To have someone
Mhm.
say congratulations and look at it as a good thing
Yes,
really just shifts their mentality right away.
yes. So
So I would
simple.
say
Yes, what a simple
that's the most
adjustment.
important.
Yeah,
Don't ever be caught off guard. Anyone tells you that they're pregnant, it's always congratulations because
I love
babies
that.
are awesome. They're never not awesome. So
I agree.
we say congratulations first. And then I would say second is to say baby and mom until you're blue in the face.
Mhm,
Baby, 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 how's your baby? Hey, mom, how are you feeling today? Every time I would talk to even these ladies online, I would just refer to them as mom and I would refer to their baby as baby. We're not having an argument about it, but I'm just saying, how are you feeling today, mom? I know you're really overwhelmed yesterday. You know,
yeah.
have you gone to the doctor yet to check on your baby? Just over and over again. And then also to de-escalate the situation. I feel like Christians are really bad at this, unfortunately. That I mean it is a life and death situation, and we kind of play into this whole like, you have to choose life right now. Hurry, choose life right now. And they're so overwhelmed, they don't need to hear all these arguments. What they
Mhm,
really need is for you to just be happy for them and to say baby and mom like they already know the truth and then remind them you have so much time whatever circumstance they are in their life you have so much time you don't need to make any decisions right now we we don't want them to make a rash decision. So yeah, de-escalate the situation. You don't need to make any rash calls right now. And then what I say is the most important, what have I found the most effective is that women who are abortion minded have
mhm,
a financial fear. And so I
mhm,
always tell them, please don't go to a place that's going to take your money and take advantage of you. There are so many places that will give you a free pregnancy test to confirm that you really are pregnant. They will
mhm.
give you free ultrasounds. Please don't let anyone take your money and take advantage of you. And then they're like, well, where would these places be? And that's how you can send them to pregnancy resource centers. And the statistic is anywhere between 80 to 90%, depending on the study, that women who see their baby choose life
Mm,
because you can't deny the reality when you go and see
yeah.
your baby. And I have all these text messages that I save over the years of these women being like, me and the dad really wanted to abort, but there was a heartbeat there and I can't do that to my baby. And you're like,
Yeah.
that's right. So getting them to a pregnancy resource center is the most important thing while congratulating them, de-escalating the situation, and saying baby and mom over and over and over again. So I would say that's the best way to be vocal and handle those situations and go find those situations. It's actually not hard. You can join different groups on social media and you can find women reaching out saying, I'm thinking about having an abortion and just talk to them. Like
Yeah.
the worst thing that's going to happen is, you know, like I got cussed out at one time, but you know what? There are some babies that are alive today because I did do that. Who cares if they cussed you out? And I wanted to also encourage the listeners that I have had times when I've driven to their house, I've pleaded with them, I've sent them abortion procedure videos, all the end of it, all the steps. And I've had them say, I'm getting an abortion and I'm happy with my decision. And I did not stop because abortion had not happened yet. And I continued to pursue them and pray for them and say, please don't kill your baby. And within 1 week, they had already chosen life and talked about how excited they are. Like their heart can
Wow.
change. So just because they say, I'm going to have an abortion, they haven't had it yet. So I just want to encourage listeners that keep going. And I threw this lady a baby shower, like with all my church friends. Like it changes. So don't just take that as defeat just because they tell you that's what they're going to do and they're totally happy with their decision. They can change their mind. So don't give up and be persistent. It really is a life and death situation.
It is. You are a superstar. That is so, I mean, that is so encouraging to it is to me, especially. I'm really lucky. We have in my right here in my backyard in my community, we have one of the biggest, best, strongest crisis pregnancy centers. It has a baby boutique, it has a medical clinic, it has an adoption facility in it. I mean, it's wonderful to have that resource. But the fact that you are willing to talk to these women and continue to encourage them fearlessly, it seems like that is really so special, and it's certainly something that I would aspire to, and I hope that our viewers and our listeners who are thinking about this issue, who are like we talked about earlier, kind of personally pro-life but not really vocal about it, I'm hoping that they draw a lot of courage just from your enthusiasm and from your stories, because this is doable. This is a winnable fight, it seems like to
It is.
me. And so I'm so grateful for your thoughts and your help. Okay, so far
Mhm.
we have congratulate them, de-escalate the fear and the negative, just kind of the negative response to it.
Mhm.
Use appropriate language, mom and baby, and encourage them essentially, and give them resources. Send them someplace where they
Yes.
can be helped. Does that about sum it up?
Yes. Yes. And I did want to share with the readers some of the options we have. So to find a pro-life pregnancy center near you, because I
Oh,
talk
great.
to women around the world. And so I need to know where I'm trying to send them. So you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the option line to send them to. And I know there's abortionprocedures.com, which has abortion procedures. I've sent those to
Okay.
people being like, you look so sweet and caring. I can't imagine you do this to your baby.
So those are
Um,
the videos? Those are like those animated videos that
yes, those are
basically
like the
depict.
cartoon animated
Okay,
videos. Yes.
okay.
And then I want to look for the other one. Just don't want to say the wrong one, but I still might say the wrong one. That's all right. Option line is the main one,
Okay,
and then that's part of CareNet. So CareNet also
okay,
has some, but I
okay.
think they just changed their URL. When you do CareNet, it sends you to something else. I wanted to look up what that's called, but yeah, pregnancy resource centers, because I don't know. So I talked to a lady in Pennsylvania, and I was like, "You should go here. They won't charge you any money." And then she goes there, and that's when she says, "I'm going to choose life." It's just I'm not physically there. I can't help her or do anything, but I told her,
Yeah,
"Don't go where people are going to take your money. Go here. It's free." So
I love
uh,
that. That's such
yeah,
a simple, shift to make that seems to be so very helpful, and it kind of reframes the situation instantly for them. I do love that. And
yes,
also, when we were talking, prior to the show, you had also mentioned that the idea this is particularly pertinent for those of us who are already professing Christians, that reluctance to speak up on pro-life issues is very similar to the reluctance to speak up about our faith. And I actually thought that was a really interesting connection to make. What can we learn? What can we learn from this whole issue about speaking up as it applies not only to the pro-life issue specifically, but our faith as well?
definitely. That's what I got my degree in, right? A master's in Christian apologetics with an
Okay.
emphasis in evangelism. And as someone who is a little socially awkward, and I really don't enjoy things like this is very out of my comfort zone. Just like when I share the gospel, it's,
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to put myself out of my comfort zone, it's got to be worth it. That's what I tell
Yeah.
myself. It needs to be
Right.
worth it if I'm going to be out of my comfort zone. And sharing the gospel, the second you have a good conversation with someone, you're like, oh, that's worth it. And it's the
Definitely.
same thing with the pro life movement. It's a life or death issue, right? it's fun to talk about politics. It's fun to talk about the other things, but this is so crucial and it needs to be figured out now. Like there's a time limit here. And so you're kind of in this crisis mode. And all it takes is one person choosing life because you talk to them and you're be like, any other time I get heat over from the pro-abortion camp, like you can just brush it off at that point because it's so worth it. So if you do stretch yourself and you evangelize and you realize it is worth it to stretch it because I got to share the gospel and I've seen people come to faith, it's the same thing. Like nothing's gonna motivate you more than like holding a baby that's alive because you said
Mm,
something and you
mm,
were the only person that ever spoke up for that baby. And then you hold that baby in your arms and you're like, I'm going to speak up all the time. So
yeah.
if you're scared, just try. Like, just try because God's going to use you and then you're going to be motivated to keep doing it.
Yes. Like they say, do it scared.
Do it
If
scared.
you're scared, do it
I still
scared.
get nervous when I evangelize, but
Sure.
do it anyway because you
Yeah.
feel so good after. Like afterwards, you knew it was the right thing to do, and you
Mhm.
see if you move past being scared, then you actually get to see God use you. If
Yeah.
you're not willing to be used, you're missing out on so much. There's a lot of blessing to watch God work through words you didn't know you were supposed to say, and that really works in the pro life movement too. It's you're reaching out to them because you really love them. You
Yes.
really love them. You really love their baby. And it's the same thing as when we're sharing Christ with others. We really love them and we want to share the truth. We don't want to see them suffer.
Right. Oh, such a good episode. So many good thoughts. Do you have any last thoughts before we wrap up that you want to share?
Mhm. I did want to close with I know we had so much scripture. I wanted to talk about like Proverbs 31 about opening our mouth over and over again to open our
Oh, yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
But I also, what stood out to me was in Psalm 82, one of Asaph's prayers. And he's praying for the Lord to rescue the weak, right? But how he prayed about them, he said, they have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. And to just to understand, a lot of people really don't have understanding. They don't know. And so
Yes.
in whatever area of truth we need to share with others, just to have that empathy with people who are in a hard situation and they really
Mhm.
just don't know. They don't know
Right.
their baby has a heartbeat. They never saw it. They don't know these things. They've just been taught what the world has been saying. And so,
Yes.
yeah, just to pray for them to be rescued, but also for you to be the person to let them know what that truth is. So, yeah, that would be my encouragement and prayer for everyone here that you would open your mouth and that you would have empathy for everyone who's in a difficult situation and that you just treat that situation with gentleness and love, but truth.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much. You're so right that part of the reason that people don't know is because the culture has dominated the narrative for 50 years. And so it really is time for us to begin to change the narrative so that people really do understand the truth of what an abortion is and what an abortion does and how much progress we can make simply just by speaking the truth, being willing to speak the truth. So, oh, Maggie, thank you. First of all, I sympathize with you for all the difficulties that you have had to endure, but I'm so grateful that you have used that to become this strong, positive voice and a place where where women can run to and find help and shelter. And so, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Lori.
doing that, and thank you for sharing it with us because I know that's not always easy.
I that I really enjoy getting to talk to you and yeah, just share my love for babies, share my love for pregnant moms.
Yeah,
So thank you. I really appreciate that.
absolutely. Well, we appreciate you too. Thank you so much, Maggie. Oh my goodness, that was so good today. So, WIA has so many resources, articles, videos, social media, quick guides, courses, and merchandise on our website. So, to see what we have available and to donate to the work we do or just become a member of our community, just visit our website at womeninapologetics.com. So from all the people at our WIA team, thank you so very much for joining us in today's very special video, and we hope to see you in the next one.